Hello all, and welcome back to another episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Right now, we are reviewing True Detective Season 4, and today we are on the second to last episode of the season, Episode 5, and we are joined by our fellow friends that have been along this journey with us, Patrick and Nate. Do y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Nate, friend of the pod, resident Season 4 hater, and yeah, excited to dive into the penultimate episode.
Always ready for the treat that Nate has for us to kick us off. It's always a good one.
Showing off with your SAT words. You know what it is. It's Pat, friend of the pod. I ain't gonna say no fancy shit. Let's just do it.
That was the most U2 intro if I ever heard one. So, well done. Well done.
By the way, shout out again to Dubs Atkins. If you've made it this far in Season 4, throw a comment down below. Let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah, he's been sharing his thoughts with us on the socials. It's been great. He's on this journey with us, y'all. Strapped in. All right. Well, if you haven't watched this episode yet, this is your spoiler alert. Please check it out before continuing to listen to the rest of this episode, because we are diving right in. Sarah, kick us off with an IMDb summary for Episode 5.
While investigating connections between Salal and Silver Sky Mining, Navarro saves Leah from a violent protest. Kate McKittrick of Silver Sky cautions Danvers against pursuing the case.
All right. Our episode titles of choice for Episode 5. Sarah, do you want to share yours first?
Mine is Family Stuff.
Nice. Pat?
Mine was The Night Country is Gonna Take Us.
All right. Nate, what about yours?
Mine is Save Tonight, Fight the Break of Dawn.
Okay, Eagle-Eyed Cherry.
That is the song they chose to end the episode on, so don't get mad at me.
I'll feel how I want to feel.
Gosh, we love a post-work Pat. This is really good. It's really spicy. He's ready to fight.
Yeah, he brings good energy.
Great, makes for great potting. My episode title.
Who knew?
You what? Went into the office today
Highway
and
traffic.
everything?
Who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extra spice. My episode title is Think, Just Think. All right. Let's dive in. Our tradition of doing a roundtable temp check, pulse check. Are we all still alive? How are we feeling? What's our temperature? Let's start off with Pat today. Kick us off with the right energy. Oh, I think because I've put Sarah on the spot. I've put Nate on the spot. So you're my next victim. Here we go.
It's fine. It was a rhetorical question. Man, the hell with this show. I watched this episode 1.5 times. The halftime was actually the first time because I got halfway through and I was like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. And then I came back again later. Because, I'm committed to this experience.
You rewatched the first half?
And it was worse the second time.
That was commitment, yeah.
At least you didn't have food poisoning this time around with this as your backdrop to your suffering and experience, Slightly
That's
better
right.
Conditions.
Yeah, I mean, salmonella, rewatching an episode of Season 4 of True Detective, I don't know. They could be one and the same. Who knows? It's 2024. It's a wild time to be alive.
All right. It's feeling spicy, feeling some type of way. The temperature's high. Sarah, how are you feeling about this episode?
Yeah, I think that this was one of the better episodes of this show, but it's still just not great. There were multiple times this episode that I was like, man, I wish that you would have given me this information in episode 2, and then we could really dive into some things and explore some things really thoughtfully. But I feel like this episode is yet another kind of disjointed mess, and we're just learning information kind of haphazardly, and a lot of melodrama carried over from the last episode, but Also, the last episode ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, and then it feels like the show just abandoned us hanging off of the side of the cliff. So,
Right.
not great.
All right, Nate, give us your feelings.
Yeah, I mean, as usual, I'm kind of right with Sarah. I think that this was one of the better episodes, just purely due to the fact that stuff happened, and that has not been happening too often in the previous two episodes for sure. So that was a breath of fresh air. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a mismatch of things that happen, and yeah, and that really annoyed me that she's just bleeding out of her ears at the end of the last episode, and we're just not even going to address that. Like that must have been a conversation that they had off screen. That's not something that we need to see, I guess.
Off your eardrum, MBD.
Nope. Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah, this show is full on melodrama at this point. This almost feels like two shows happening at the same time. Like there's a detective story and then there's like a family story, and we're just smushing them together to create excitement of some kind. So that ending, I'm particularly intrigued to talk about because this is apparently like a Shakespearean family feud tragedy, and if we're entering into the next episode with that energy, like I am just intrigued to see shit absolutely hit the fan. So if they're going to continue barreling down this path, man, it's going to be a fireworks show finale for episode 6. But maybe they won't even follow that thread, because I was also intrigued that there's very little like mythological.
It'll never come up again. They won't even mention it.
Not a single polar bear or an orange in sight. I was like, oh, like at least we could have continued that little like through line, with the
No. It's fine, because instead of doing that, let's just introduce something new and have some fucking hair in the washing machine.
And some pointing, the pointing little flash sequence.
Right.
Yeah, a whole new trope. Here we go, episode 5.
Was that the only ghost part? The pointing and the hair?
Well, Navarro had her hallucination where she was back in like Fury Road, and then all of a sudden she's about to drown in the ocean.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. I mean, there were some magical things that happened with Rose appearing and she only walking like 5 feet. And Rose was like, "You were walking into the sea."
I don't think ice
You're like, "You just left
works
me
like that. Like I don't think you're very often just completely fine, and then like 2 feet away, it's like, oh my god, you're gonna die. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know that much about ice, but that was also a little bit funny.
Well, maybe we'll go to the geologist or whatever before we get out of this
the teacher
season, and he'll explain it to us.
Yeah.
I agree with y'all. Stuff did happen in this episode, but the pacing was absolute dog shit. And by dog shit, literally it moved in dog years. Navarro and Danvers at the entrance to the cave. Within 90 seconds, she is suited up in tactile gear as part of a SWAT raid. Like, what happened to the titles that said what day of darkness it was?
Well, we also get like a 30-second little scene with Pete just like cut in there. Just a little like, oh, let's go visit what Pete's happening. And then we just immediately cut back to the two gals. Like,
is that when Pete gets kicked
was
out of the house?
Was that him getting kicked out?
Just a little,
I fucking can't with that. I can't with that whole plot line.
Pete
so
is
bad.
like a bad writing punching bag.
Yeah.
Like,
I hope he never gets COVID. It's just he'll get kicked out again. It's just like, it's been 10 days and you're still testing positive. Either be part of this family or not.
I'm intrigued to hear y'all's thoughts about the dramatic Pete ending scene. Thoughts?
well, I mean, let's work our way there. We got plenty of ground to cover. Don't be hasty.
All right. I'll start from the beginning.
There's so much shit to trudge through before we get there.
Where shall we begin?
Can we start with the fact that the office headquarters for the mine look like the fucking headquarters for S.H.I.E.L.D.? I was literally waiting for like Thor to go jaunting on by with his hammer. That was the most advanced office I've in the middle of Alaska, low resource, in a mine company.
That was pretty. That was something. Like those, like a lot of us on the pod work in tech, and I don't think any of us have seen meeting room doors that fancy. Like they're like top floor Manhattan lawyer room kind of thing.
Yeah, Harvey Specter's gonna come barreling through.
Mining offices.
Well, we get some Kate drama, which Pat, I know you've been waiting for. Were you satisfied, or were you not so satisfied?
It should have happened like Sarah said, like 3 episodes ago. Should have been 3 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Also, we're
talking about
the Kate storyline. Yep.
Yeah.
I literally had a moment where when Danvers, because she's wonderful in all of the worst ways, literally like, it's not my fault your husband's a terrible lay. I literally said out loud, "Are you out of your fucking mind?" And then the chief literally said out loud, "Are you out of your fucking mind?"
Oh yeah, there's some great lines in this episode.
That was at least in character. I didn't. The whole like interrogation of Danvers by Kate made no sense to me. Like on any level. Like the fact that that Danvers was like so submissive during that conversation and answering all the questions when like at the time she thought she had an ace up her sleeve, like made no sense. I would have expected her to be far more adversarial in that discussion. And like, why is Kate asking these questions in the first place? Like from like her character perspective, like if she wants to bury the investigation, then she should have like Connolly do that. Like not call her to the mining offices to do it. Like that's why be so brazen right about it? Just like, oh, the mine's shutting this down.
The head of the mine's next to the police sheet being like, "This is nothing. This is nothing. Nothing to see."
She should have just slid an envelope full of cash over to Connolly and like in front of Danvers and been like, "Take care of it."
Right. Well, Danvers has this ace up her sleeve, but she doesn't even use it in like a fun, dramatic way. Like I want to see her like slap that shit on the table. No, she kind of like, and I found what she didn't even find. Also, I think it was Pete who's like doing all of the detecting in this entire dang show. It's always Pete being like, "Hey, Chief, I got something." The only difference is this didn't come at the last 5 minutes of the episode. It's the only difference this time around.
I feel like we witnessed, at least for me, the most infuriating Pete scene we've seen yet. Like, I didn't think they could get much more frustrating, but then literally he's over here talking about being kicked out. Danvers is dumb. She has to have a clue as to why. And then later, when he's telling her about what he found, she says, "Hey, sorry about the divorce. It's not a divorce. Whatever. All dismissive. Doesn't care." And he just sits down with his jaw like on the ground like, what? Which then makes no sense into how the rest of the episode goes, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
I also wrote that one down. It's such a shitty reaction. Like, within 60 seconds of finding out.
Yeah. This man's the only one delivering results. His family is imploding, and you don't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, this is why I wanted to jump to the end, but I'll wait. Because I read people interpret the ending scene differently, which then connects this around him defending Danvers, and I'm like, I did not read that way at all. So I need to now poll everybody to be like, did you see that as him defending her at the end?
Yeah, I did. Because Hank talks about like blood is thicker than water or whatever, and then he starts to raise his gun a little bit, and that's when Pete shoots him. And so I was like, oh, okay, great. So you think that Danvers is actually your blood. You're choosing the worst of two very bad options. But like, okay, live your life, Pete, whatever.
But it all points to that then there's got to be something that connects the two of them, which also explains, unless is this either like we're going to find out something in the finale or it's just really bad writing. But like, there's got to be a reason behind this like loyalty and connection.
It's that one. It's the bad writing. She's like a Danvers fanboy, even though she's ruining his life. I think that's literally as far as it goes. And his dad's kind of shitty and clearly has a history of being abusive, right? So, I don't know. And he also, his dad just murdered someone in cold blood, like right there in the house.
Fair.
Yeah,
That's
that's
how
how
I
I read it. It was more like, shoot the guy who's about to, like, kill someone else in cold blood, because he started to raise his gun at her.
Also, can we just take
Less like a choice between the two,
right? Can we just take a second? Hank's swan song that's happening while Pete's getting kicked out. I was like, well, this is different. And just, was that necessary? I don't know.
I liked it.
I didn't mind it in the backdrop, but I was like, it's weird. Like, I would have rather they just played the song and not it be from Hank.
Well, it's just weird because it's also like overlaid with this visual of like these people protesting against the mines and like fighting for justice, and then there's just like Hank's voice behind like that cognitive dissonance. I was like, oh, this does not match. Let's play this really shitty, corrupt government officials song as people are fighting for justice, like.
I agree with that. But it was a callback to, I think, episode 2 when he's talking, when Pete and Leia are talking, and he says he's never actually heard his father play, and that was his like moment to hear him play. Right. I mean, this whole episode was like a pretty heavy-handed, like, swan song for Hank. Like, he just like goes into the copy room and has his like Star Trek red shirt speech where it's just like overly emotional for no fucking reason in the middle of a workday. It's like, oh, okay, one of you is gonna die today.
I liked it. They couldn't do anything better than to have him awkwardly stand there at the end of the hallway looking at Danvers. Like, this dude's supposed to be following her, and that's the best he can do, is to out himself immediately, like, at their place of employment.
Yeah, that whole thing with like finding out that he's the one who told Connolly about the Wheeler investigation, I rewound and I was like, did I miss an entire scene or like anything about this? Because like the way this showed like drip feeds and repeats and like hammers things into your head, like, and then the things that it just decides to completely omit. Like, we never see Pete like independently investigating the Wheeler case, as far as I can remember. We're never shown Pete like and Hank together in his father's house on his computer in any fashion. It's just like, I legitimately thought I missed something. I was like, maybe I just like was looking at my phone or something, but I don't think I did.
Well, and then there's that other moment later when Hank is like, well, I didn't kill Annie K. I just moved her body. And it's like, I'm sorry, none of these detectives were even thinking about that. And so now we're just dropping this piece of information out of nowhere? Okay.
Clearly, we're not asking the right questions, apparently, because they're giving us answers to things that like I wasn't even curious about. Like that whole scene with him and Kate. I was like, this scene should have been like a big moment, like a reveal of, the department and the mining company are working together and I mean, we knew that kind of all along, but like, oh my gosh, it's Hank. I was like, I didn't even care about that, but like, cool. Let me take this down in my mental notepad.
At least Hank stood on business and put his morals in front of him and said, I'm not a killer. And he lived up to those in no kind of fucking way.
It's like 2 scenes later.
And then was ready to do it again.
Someone in cold blood and was about to kill someone else. That also seemed out of character for him. Like, I don't buy that he would go into such like a violent and unnecessary encounter for like a promotion.
Yeah, talk about drinking the corporate Kool-Aid. Like, damn.
Seriously, you would have thought that Kate would have had like some scandalous information about him she was going to reveal. Like, that was the type of response he had.
Yeah. Like, extortion would make more sense.
Yeah.
Well, and especially because it seemed like she had promised him that before and didn't deliver, and so now she's making the same promise again. Like, really, you're gonna trust this person to deliver on the thing that they couldn't deliver on before? Okay, sure, live your life.
I did find that hilarious. Like in the same sentence, she's like, "Well, that wasn't my fault."
Homeboy has a record of getting ShamWowed though, so I don't really trust his judgment. His little Russian wife that never shows up.
That's
so.
true. Also, did any of you catch the transition? Not that ending, but the transition from Hank to Navarro on the ice with Crazy Lady. They played an upbeat song for like 30 seconds just to go into a very dark moment, and I was like, why did you do this? Why are we having this like Hank uplifting musical moment just to like pan in on Navarro looking up into the abyss from the ice and immediately cut the music?
Yeah, that was a lot of the music transitions in this are like so weird. Just so weird. Like they played the New Year's odd lang syne, whatever that is, the New Year's song, like between the conversation where he's like being hired for murder and like the scene at the laundromat. I was like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? And then I named the episode my favorite one, Going Out on Save Tonight. It's just like, yeah. just steer into the swerve. True Detective, let's go.
I do wonder if there's like the makings of a somewhat decent show that it's just gotten butchered by the editing. Like if we take all the same puzzle pieces and like rearrange them differently, like maybe there's a thread here, and like that, you know, the whole like mining corruption, the stuff with Leia, like it's all kind of there. We just like bounce back and forth. It's like a puzzle that's been jumbled together. It's kind of the same thoughts that Sarah and I had about the whole show of Echo. It's like everything is kind of there, but you just cut it together in a really weird way. So I feel like there could have been like a somewhat decent show here. All the pieces are there. The threads are there.
It could have started with them leaving out oranges and polar bears.
Yeah. I think you could have a okay movie out of all of the content of this show.
Did anyone else want to punch Danvers in the face or see Danvers get punched in the face when she said to Leah to come home for New Year's? Like, let's forget everything that's happened. Come celebrate New Year's. Let's not repair our relationship. Let's not see if we can get to a place of understanding or rebuild, you know, what's been going on. Let's just bring in the new year.
Yeah, and then Leah's response too is like so like kind to her, and I'm like, really? Like this seems out of character for both of them, honestly. So that whole thing, I was just like, like so many other things in this episode, it just wasn't set up properly. You know, like I could see a way that you could get these characters there, but that foundation wasn't laid, so it just kind of feels like it's out of left field.
I had that note as well when Leia says, you know, I haven't given up on you, as Danvers is like halfway out the door. And I was like, this is not right for the character, nor do like human beings talk like this in a moment like this. You know, like at least like, you could have had the spirit of that, but like give us something a little bit more clever, a little bit less right on the nose. Humans aren't like this. We are not straightforward with how we feel ever, let alone with people we, you know, have some feelings towards. Some mixed feelings towards. We do not communicate this way.
Can we also talk about out of character and try to understand how Pete, bless his heart, for what he is, the vehicle that he is in this show, was within 2 sentences convinced that his father's house, of which he should be very comfortable, does not measure up to the unfurnished ice shack that is in Danvers' backyard that has a plastic lawn chair that he can sleep in. And somehow he's why? This is the right choice.
Doesn't he have friends? That was a key plot point in one episode.
Yeah.
He's under 30. He has friends.
Yeah, and doesn't he have like the vet person that he knows? You know, like we have options here. Yeah. You are not stuck with this binary, but he has to be in Danvers' little shack so that he can kill his dad. And that's just like the lamest way to get him there.
He's just...
Yeah, when you put it like that, it is Very convenient, Hank.
You had to have seen it coming. As soon as Hank kills Otis, it's like, well, you're going to hear that in the backyard. Thank God his son's in the ice shack with no insulation and no heat, sitting in his plastic chair just waiting for something to get his attention.
Also, like, doesn't Danvers have neighbors? Wouldn't somebody conceivably hear multiple gunshots and respond? And instead of actually, like, staying there and, like, doing anything, then Danvers and Navarro, like, run off. And it's like, okay, Pete, clean up your dad's dead body and clean up your boss's house, remove all evidence while we go into a snowstorm. It's going to be great. It's fine. Are you kidding me? It made no sense.
I love that Navarro's like, you clean good, all right?
You clean good.
I mean,
I chuckled.
It's like, don't worry, Pete. Don't worry how traumatic things have been for you the last month. Cleaning up, like you said, Sarah, your dad's dead body. Nah.
The show just doesn't know when to shut the fuck up either, because it's like, it's like he kills his dad, and like whatever you feel about that, it's fine. It's like it's a melodramatic moment, and then he like collapses on the ground, and like Danvers comes close, like comforts him, and then the camera pans out. End the fucking episode right there. End it right there. That is where you end the episode. Why do we why does every episode have two endings? Just like that's the cliffhanger. People want to come back and find out what happens. Like, and then the next episode you start with Navarro walking up from her car and she hears a gunshot. That's how you start it. It's just that easy. Like, why do we have to do this you clean good stuff at the end of this episode? Everyone's like standing around, well, what do we do now? Like, why are we doing, there's 4 minutes left.
No, but see, Nate, it's fine. We got that all swept under the rug. Hank's in a trash bag in the back of a truck. We can pick up right where the snowstorm wants us to.
And what's the urgency? Annie K has been dead for years. Like, you could help him clean up some dead bodies, right?
Yeah.
Like,
right?
we can go to the ice
Like,
caves tomorrow.
You would think that the 3 dead or the 2 dead bodies in the house would be the more pressing matter. And 2 of them have already staged a crime scene before and done all of this to cover up a murder. You think the 2 that have done that before might be an asset in this situation, but instead they just dip.
Exactly, yeah. What if Freshman gets it wrong? What if he doesn't clean good?
Gonna go to jail.
Well, that's the other weird thing. Like, Pete is he's in shock, but he's so, like, coherent in that moment of just, he's the one that's telling, I think it was Danvers, he's like, it's okay, like, I gotta do this. This is my job. This is me, you know? And Danvers is the one that's, like, kind of freaking out. I'm just like, knowing what we know about Pete and, like, who he is, and he's kind of a softie, like, I would expect a little more emotion. Isn't the show about melodrama? You know, like, this is a pride moment to
His life is in absolute shambles. Comically so.
Just wait till his wife hears about this one, you know?
Like, they're probably going to write it into a corner where Pete has to kill himself in order for his son to live. Somehow, some way.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, what they're going to do with Pete, and I was like, he's probably going to kill himself for some reason. And that's just like, no, let's take Pete. Let's get him out of this town and, like, take his family too, and let's go live a somewhat happy and productive life as much as you can, given everything he's been through. But, like, let's get out of here. Let's go do something else with our lives. But the show is not going to be that kind to Pete, so yay for us.
Yeah, back to what was it Pat said? Like, he's the writing punching bag of this entire show. It sucks because he's just, like, one of the 2 decent characters.
Yeah.
Also, the stupid Wheeler questioning exercise where Danvers is all like, okay, fine, we're going to get into it. Different question. Oh, you asked the right question. I'm not going to answer. That felt so stupid.
You don't know when to stop asking questions. I out loud said, fuck you. I did like the I did like the like the whatever the stinger question though. Like, did you know he was left-handed? I was like, oh, good. I like that.
But
You
to
did a thing.
that even if he figured that out, Hank could take whatever he had open on his computer and reverse engineer his way back to as concrete a resolution of what happened to then confidently go tell Connolly, the fuck out of here.
I wish he just had like a digital post-it note open that says like Wheeler was left-handed ?
So that's why they didn't show us that scene, because that was a little too silly. They were like, people aren't going to buy that.
Even the editors were like, no.
Yeah, they actually have that scene. It's just on the cutting room floor, because they were like, this is a
Well,
little
no. It was because the episode would have been getting too long, and we needed to have the 4 minutes after the murder in the kitchen. Something had to go.
Right.
They clearly made the right choice.
Mm-hmm. This is correct.
When Danvers is like pressing him, like, ask the questions, and Pete's like, I don't wanna. I was like, I feel that too with the show at a meta level. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to ask any more questions. I don't have any more for you.
There's no way they could wrap up all the open threads in any amount of time less than 3 hours, and this will not exceed 90 minutes, and I'll be sad if it even hits 90 minutes. So I am very curious to see what they throw at the wall to give attention to in the finale. Maybe Navarro won't even be in the episode. At the rate we're going.
I just kind of forgot.
Yeah.
that Navarro was even in the show. I would love that. The episode opens and Danvers is driving alone. Just never mention it.
Also, going back to why couldn't going to the cave wait till tomorrow? Why couldn't investigating any of this wait until we were out of the big dark? I mean, also, I do love the story coming in hot from Anchorage that it was a freak winter weather event. Because, every time I've got caught outside in a bad snowstorm, growing up in Maine, the first thing I do is take my clothes off and fold them up nicely and set them in a pile. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you fold those up nice, yeah, for sure.
Nate's seen me do it. How do you think we got from building to building in college across campus when the nor'easter was rolling through?
Yeah, those northeastern winters are cold.
Right.
You can't be wearing clothes during those. Yeah. So are we supposed to believe that Anchorage Forensics is owned by the mine too? Like, is the mine owns the state? Is it the Tuttles?
That's what I was gonna say.
Do they own everything?
Is so far they've very loosely, occasionally, because the show is ADHD, been like, it all traces back to Tuttle United. You remember them? I think Danvers specifically says, "You remember them?" ? Wink for the viewers, just in case y'all are dumb.
Yeah.
I still can't connect what the fuck the Tuttles would care about a mining operation in Alaska.
I think it's all just money. They're just collecting.
I mean, it has to be, because outside of Annie K, I don't see women disappearing. No children disappearing.
What about I already forgot the name of the fucking research station. The whole thing, the whole center thing that started the show. Salal. Yeah. You remember that? You remember Salal?
Remember there's like 10 scientists or 8 scientists? 7? I don't even remember.
Yeah, whatever.
The Corpsicle.
Weren't they digging for like eternal life or something like that? Some sort of like cure-all for age and cancer and everything. And didn't the Tuttles have something? Wasn't that part of like their whole devil worship thing?
Could be.
Remember.
Yeah.
I think that was like a loose connection.
But like even that, like there's a good way to do this. I think that there's a way, if you really put your mind to it, that you could connect these things in a way that's logical and makes sense. But this season has not done that, and instead is just like, oh, we talked about Tuttle back in episode 2, so we need to say it again in episode 5, but we're only going to say it one time and have it not really relate to anything else, just to make you know for sure that you're watching a true detective show. So like I think if Kate and the mining company had been a little bit more like Tuttle in season 1, then that could be a really interesting thing to explore this season. And then maybe because the vibe is so similar, they could make that connection back to Tuttle even more easy. Like, I don't know. There's a way to do this well. And that is not what we have in this season.
Yeah.
I feel like it's shoehorned in partially the point that Nate brought up earlier around like this wasn't originally meant to be a true detective show. So this is like sprinkles on an already baked cake, and they're like, oh yeah, throw some spirals on there, some name dropping of Tuttle, and like we're Gucci, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna mention the spirals next. So the spirals are a thin ice.
That's
warning.
wild because in Louisiana, they're you're gonna get molested warning. Very different.
Yeah, how does that end up on the, tattooed on the back of a dead body of a woman who's a victim of like a meta-psychotic killing in fucking Louisiana 3,000 miles away? That aside, if it's a warning on thin ice, wouldn't fucking everyone know that? Like, isn't the point of a warning that it's like prolific and like easy to understand?
Unless
also, didn't Annie K have that tattooed on her too? Like, didn't her and her boo have like matching tattoos of this thin ice warning? Like, that's a weird. I mean, people can get whatever tattoo they want, but like, that's a weird choice for tattoo.
maybe we're gonna go down a whole thing where the ice ends up becoming really rapey in the last episode. God, I hope not. But shit, with where we're at,
it was the ice the whole time.
Right.
I love Pat's creative theories.
I'm doing the best I can with what they've given us to work with.
That's some great storytelling, though, you know?
Also, in the laundromat, with that dramatic reveal about The Rock, the woman named Blair from the first episode that was assaulted at the scene that Navarro comes to and like beats the hell out of that dude, Blair walks in front of the camera in that scene. And I'm like, okay. Here's the thing. We've had this random named character show up again. Why? Why did we do that? And I have no answer. But maybe Blair will show up in the next episode and have something important to contribute.
That is another loose end that's another Chekhov's gun. There's like a Chekhov's armory at this point. Like, there's no way to fire them all.
She's hurt. Blair is the one who's awake. Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Pat is very checked out. What do we think we'll find in the caves? Just orange groves as far as the eye can see?
That'd be lovely.
If they don't have any polar bears or oranges in the next episode, I'm going to be upset because that was just some like mood piece shit. Like, no. That at least needs to be something. There was a whole ass spirit that was showed to Navarro, and we're just like, they gotta bring that back, or else it can't just be like Kate behind it all, and then we.
You know what I say to you, Jennifer? Welcome to watching A24 with objective lenses.
Don't start, Pat. Come on, we're all on the same side of the table. Don't do that. Yeah, there's like so many loose ends when it comes to the hallucinations, like who is and who isn't hallucinating. Why are there repeats? Why is everyone seeing like the same things? Like the orange thing doesn't make sense for her sister to see. Like, there's got to be an explanation for that, or there should be. There should be, I should say.
I'm gonna jump ahead. Looking ahead,
all right.
What do I want to see?
Go ahead.
Marty guiding.
You always jump into this.
Marty guiding a polar bear wearing reins that Rust is sitting upon and riding. Marty walking and leading a polar bear that has reins on that Rust is sitting on while he has a satchel of oranges over his shoulder. Be very congruent with the experience that has been season 4.
Okay, let's do looking ahead. What do other people want to see?
I want to see Rose help Pete dispose of some bodies. Because I think Rose could do it. And Rose is great. So let's see more of Rose.
I also love I I would love to see that interaction done well, where like this random person that you've never met shows up with 2 dead bodies and is like, take me to Navarro's sister. Like, that's some primo comedy stuff. Yeah, what I hope to see is I really hope Hank's Russian fiance shows up and it was a misunderstanding. You know, she just gets off the plane. She's like looking around town for Hank with a Russian accent.
I like it. Well done.
Yeah, that line between tragedy and comedy, man, real close. Real close.
Real talk, I want to see Danvers get her comeuppance. Like, she always gets away with it. She literally somehow was able to say in one breath to Kate, don't ruin my not daughter's life. And she let Leah go. And then in the next breath, she's like, hey, I fucked your husband. And by the way, he sucks in bed. Like, when is she going to get hers?
Maybe when Matthew McConaughey shows up on that polar bear, the polar bear will just take care of Danvers, you know?
I would love.
Or Rust himself.
Yeah.
I feel like
Where he starts like
she's the exact person that Russ is just like
Yeah.
has no patience for.
yeah, he starts like pelting her with oranges. You know?
Yeah.
Be satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he finished season 1 being like, my work is not done yet. Like, bad shit is still out there. I gotta keep going, you know? This is his valiant quest for justice.
And I mean, Marty's family doesn't talk to him. He got time. You tag along.
Yeah, totally.
Like, shriveling up inside, like, please don't even send that energy out into the universe.
It's fine. Whatever. This show can't
Anymore.
do anything to me. It can't hurt me. I feel like that we're just recreating the writer's room right now.
What if they pull a fast one on us and the finale is literally just a remake of the first episode of Lost? We're on an airplane, it goes down, we're on an island, we got all new characters.
I mean, honestly, like I wouldn't put it past the show because look what they did to us between episode 4 and episode 5. They set us up with a cliffhanger in episode 4, and then we're like, no, I don't know what happened. That's irrelevant. Let's move on.
Okay.
So maybe we're just going to move on in episode 6 too.
Yeah.
I hope it's just Marty's dream. Like, he wakes up and he just starts rambling. He's just like, oh, it's just like polar bears and oranges, and there's like this corpsicle, and then Russ is just like, I don't care about this.
I mean, for real though, Sarah, you gotta let go of that cliffhanger. I actually blew my eardrum out in the office today while Jen and I were having lunch. You don't see anything now. I'm fine. It just goes away. The blood just magically disappears. My hearing's great. I have no pain.
It's fine.
Yeah,
Your
how
tooth
about
broke back,
that?
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a week.
All right, let's give out some awards.
Why?
For the sake of tradition. All right. Best character clue. Patrick, why don't you go first for this category?
I don't even know what to do for this one. Best character clue.
Mm-hmm.
Hank. Period.
Okay.
All right, next.
List the characters now. Leia.
Well, I mean,
Done.
we saw a character that was like, it's as if we saw 4 different multiverse versions of Hank in the same episode that somehow was following some type of same storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Best character clue? Hank
Fair.
is clearly on Doctor Strange's level. That's my clue.
That'd be a good twist. This whole thing is, it turns out it's a multiverse show after all.
Okay, Nate.
Yeah, I also have Hank. I don't know why I just put Hank and period. I guess that's all I have. No, I'll go with Hank's a little emotional speech in the copier room, I guess, due to lack of submissions from any other characters. Yeah, shows he loves his son, and overall he's just a sad, lonely guy trying to improve his life through just a little bit of conspiracy and murder.
And catfishing.
Who can't relate to that? Mm.
Okay, Sarah. I feel like this category has become just like examples of bad character writing. Let's go.
See, I originally had something else, but now I'm also going to pick Hank just to keep this trend going, because why not? Well,
No, if you had a real one, you should go. I literally don't know how to find diamonds in this rough. I just don't have the eye for it.
okay, so my Hank one that I would choose is that he was playing his guitar, and then when his son calls him, he says, "I'm working on my truck," instead of saying that he was playing his guitar.
Yeah.
Hank is a mess.
Yeah, that's a better one.
Well, the one that I had, can I start with the one that I had, is for the show. The show, when Pete is talking to Leia when she's locked up, they're eating Cheetos Twisted Puffs. I was distracted. I stopped the show and Googled this. They're eating Cheetos Twisted Puffs, which were discontinued in 2012. They were available from 2002 to 2012, and it was a clue, because I was like, I just have so many questions now. Why, if we're gonna do some product placement, let's do something that's available now. And also, where did you get this? If it was,
or did you find the most hidden Easter egg in the entire show that tells us it's 2012?
But they have face unlock.
I was gonna say, because it's so remote, they might have to keep food for longer, so they just have old stale chips.
The shipment just came in.
Nate, they also have oranges that roll out of the darkness. Shit happens.
You can't just say that.
I just did.
You can't just say that and have that be an argument.
Look, we already introduced the idea of multiverse. Why are you fucking with the timelines? My timelines can coexist with your timelines.
Sure. I was going to say it's product placement. Cheetos Twisted Puffs are coming back.
This is their announcement.
Maybe that's the tie-in.
Michael Bay couldn't have done it better himself.
Sharp eye. I don't know what that has to do with the character glue, though.
It's a clue of just the show in general.
I guess we did get a character clue in that moment, though, of Pete and the story about him falling or giving up a goal or whatever because the opponent's dad was sick, and that was a nice revelation. And then they immediately went back to curb stomping Pete in the writer's room.
All right, best burn. Nate's favorite category. Let's go.
Well, I've sort of substituted this in my mind with the worst line of the episode, but we already talked about you clean good, so I guess I'll go with the burn. When she puts the paper when Navarro puts the paper against Danvers' chest and says, "You carry her now," it seemed pretty heavy, and it was one of the first times Navarro ended a conversation without saying fuck, so that was also nice.
Win.
But then they immediately smash cut to her getting Leia out of jail, and she's like, "Fuck Liz." And I was like, "Okay, back to normal."
Well, my choice for this category was worst line, and it's family stuff, right? Fucking family, just quality content. It's profound. That's not Sarah's episode title. Sarah, what was your choice for this?
When Leah says to Liz, "Not everything is about you."
Mine was the same as Nate's. No, you carry her now. It wasn't really a jab. It was a moment.
Another great line from this episode is Danvers in her convo with Ted being like, "The two cases are linked." And it's supposed to be this revelatory moment. Bro, we're on episode 5. We knew that from episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great. I laughed to myself.
I love the delirious energy we're all carrying. We're all coasting on fumes here. Just 5 episodes. Can you imagine if this was an 8-episode run? We'd be fucking bonkers by 8.
It's as if the night country had taken over us by that.
Right?
Seriously, that's the that's the real Night Country.
Well, I did read a headline, I'm assuming this is true, that the number of viewers that watched, I don't know what their time frames are for any of this, but the headline said that there's more people that have watched this season of True Detective than any other season, including season 1.
And that's exactly why they put the name on it.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
I'm just surprised.
Not quality.
Well, that's also makes sense. Like when season 1 came out, it was pretty hard to watch HBO. Like you had to have cable or know someone who had cable. Like now, like a lot of people have HBO.
It's called Max. You're welcome.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry. I miss the days when it was HBO Go, HBO Now, and what was the other one?
HBO Max.
HBO Max, yeah, that was the other one.
Maybe the writers will do right by the viewers, and the last episode will just be a dialogue piece of Pete's vet friend, cousin, and Kavik sitting at the bar talking about dogs, having some drinks, maybe even petting a couple.
Perfect. Yep.
Nothing would make Sarah happier.
10 out of 10. Yep. Let's go with that. That sounds great.
Really picks up on the last episode. That would explain all the Rotten Tomato scores, honestly.
Yeah.
All right. Any other last thoughts before we wrap?
I didn't mention this, but the camera angle on them approaching the cave entrance was hilarious to me. It's like is there just like a drone hanging in the sky over this remote abandoned mine 24 hours a day? Like, why the fuck are they actively monitoring and surveilling this collapsed mine entrance? Like, in case someone comes up to the rubble. Yeah, that was another moment that made me laugh.
Yeah, that was, and like, they were there, and then they turned around and left. Who cares?
It's worth dragging people out to the mine offices.
Excuse you, SHIELD headquarters.
Oh yeah, SHIELD headquarters, of course.
So maybe that's like a secret, like invisible, like SHIELD base or something, and they had like approached the exterior of like this like invisible thing, and so, you know, they're worried that they're onto their stealth technology.
Yes. Well, the Tesseract does fall into the ice. So maybe there's a lab down there that scientists are mucking about in. Chris Evans.
Yeah, so it's
come on,
actually
baby.
like the polar bear. The polar bear is a scientist and is doing very important work on the Tesseract and loves to eat oranges. And things just got a little haywire one day in the lab.
Right.
We got it.
I want them to find a Captain America shield just stuck into the ice.
So it's like Captain America meets Stranger Things in this small town of
Meets Lost. All of them.
Meets Lost, yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. They're all together. They're all in on it. It's a conspiracy.
All right. Well, we've got one episode left, y'all. So all of our questions are about to be answered, whether we're asking the right questions
No, they're
or not. We will get our answer.
No, they're not. Are you out of your mind?
No, you can't make that promise.
Fair.
The day of reckoning of which questions will be answered is upon us, but all of our questions will not be answered.
We might even have more questions than we started the episode with. You never know.
Do you think it'll end? So my biggest fear is that it ends on a cliffhanger, because I don't want to watch any more of the show.
Oh,
and they do like doing
like if they'll be setting
they do like doing part 2s of seasons now, which I don't like. Just end the season and go to the next.
They like doing what?
Like part 2.
Oh yeah, like multi-part seasons of TV. Yeah. We might only be halfway through the Night Country.
Well, then I'm gonna be stuck in the Night Country, y'all. Like I don't want to do 6 more episodes. Like, no, we can't do this. This is bad enough.
You know what's kind of the opposite of Night Country? Day Island. You know, where planes crash and polar bears hang out.
Oh my god, it's doing another Lost thing.
Okay, well, this is our review and discussion of episode 5. You can find it available on Max, but I don't know if you're going to want to watch it after listening to our conversation. But it is there. for your viewing experience.
Not on HBO Go, Max.
Right. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're big fans of good TV and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories. So everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad you spent time with us today as we continued our journey through True Detective Season 4. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a review letting us know your thoughts about Episode 5. We would love to hear. You can connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at TBNSPod or email us at tbnspod@gmail.com. We will be back next week to discuss Episode 6, the finale of this experience. We hope you have an amazing weekend. We'll see you again soon.